Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This episode is brought to you by PDO Aesthetics, the #1 coaching company for spa industry professionals wanting to step into the role of spa CEO. And today we are back with the one and only Ryan Files from High Level Marketing. Now, all of us in the PDO community are huge fans of Ryan because he's just all about providing value. If you go into our Facebook group, you will see story after story after story from estheticians who took advantage of that free 30-minute SEO call that he is offering in our community. We've got a link below this episode if you want to take advantage of that for yourself if you haven't already. But they just had so much praise because they felt that this guy really has a genuine desire to help me and to support me. And he's honest and transparent and not trying to be manipulative in his communications in any way. And as someone who knows Ryan personally and has spent, time sharing meals, laughing, talking with him, I can say that what you see is what you get. He is just a genuine, incredible person. I can't say enough positive things about him. So today I'm so excited that Ryan is bringing even more value as we break down your Google My Business profile. And we've got a checklist for you to download that is going to walk you through the step-by-step of what you can do yourself to optimize your profile. And this is absolutely huge because if you're showing up on the first page of Google, you will get more bookings from search, plain and simple. Super, super important aspect that we as spa owners are getting more clients in the door. So let me just do a quick read of Ryan's bio for those of you that are about to have the pleasure of meeting him for the first time. Ryan Files serves as Vice President of Sales with High Level Marketing. With over 10 years of experience, Ryan is focused on the healthcare and aesthetic industries, providing digital marketing solutions that drive practice growth for his clients. Ryan has worked hundreds of individual practices from spas to dermatologists and plastic surgeons, also including aesthetic manufacturers such as BTL, Rohrer Aesthetics, PDO Max, Emage Medical, and the Salt Facial. Ryan's expertise is widely recognized. He has gained extensive healthcare and aesthetic industry knowledge from the clients he's worked with and, quite simply, from his passion and love of the industry. Ryan continues to expand his digital marketing expertise and currently holds 6 separate Google certifications, including analytics, display advertising, and SEO. He is the real deal. If this is the first time meeting Ryan, I hope you enjoy. I know you will. And also be sure to take advantage of that complimentary 30-minute call where Ryan does an SEO audit for your business and download that checklist for your Google My Business profile. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and play that interview. All right, Ryan, welcome back to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. You're becoming a regular over here. I love it.
No, thank you so much. Honestly, there is, I've listened to a lot of your podcasts and there's not too many that get to come multiple times.
No.
So I truly appreciate the opportunity and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we're going to dive into the Google Business profile or Google My Business, whatever we're calling it these days. It's always kind of changing and shifting. We'll talk about that. But what is Google My Business? Why is it important for spa owners in the first place?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a good place to start. And I would say this. First, it's Google Business Profile. So a lot of people you will hear say Google My Business. Mm-hmm. And over the past 6 to 12 months, I think in the past 6 months, they've completely changed the name of it to Google Business Profile. They've changed the user interface entirely. And they've been spending, when I say them, Google has been spending a lot of time working on this listing. And so I think, in my opinion, and one of the reasons that I wanted to discuss it today is that I believe it's one of the most undervalued parts of your overall online presence. And the reason why I say that is because when you think about first impressions, and I'm honestly one of the first people to say this, a lot of times your online storefront, you consider that your website. The first place that your prospective patient or prospective client is going to see is your website. But in fact, a lot of the times it's your Google Business Profile where they go and look at reviews, They look at the photos and they engage with it before they even go to your website. So
Sorry to interrupt. What is the difference between getting reviews and the Google Business Profile? Because do you have to have a Google Business Profile to have reviews? Or are you going to go over what's included in that profile?
Yeah. So yes, you do have to have a registered Google Business Profile to have a review section on that profile. So you have to go through a full authorization
They mail you a little postcard.
Yeah, they now have even changed some of that, where they are asking you to send photos of your business to prove that you are a brick and mortar as well. So yeah, it's a lot of it has changed. But yes, to answer the question, to have reviews, you do need to have a Google Business Profile.
Okay, so walk me through what is included, your website, your phone number, your reviews. I know there's some photos. Like, what is this first impression that we're giving?
Yeah. So the one that's most important, and you'll hear me talk a lot about today, is reviews. Reviews are more important than a lot of your students and podcast listeners even know. It plays it's weighted heavily in rankings. So that's a big component. But then also your address, where your store is located. You can have questions and answers, where if a prospective client asks a question, you can actually answer those questions and be featured prominently on your Google Business Profile. And yeah, there's a host of other, you can post on your Google Business Profile. There's a lot of new things that Google's added that if you do, they then show up right. It's almost like your mini website right on Google before they even make it to your site.
Can we get into some nitty gritty with reviews? Because we just had, I know I'm kind of throwing this at you.
No, that's okay.
We had an experience with a student of ours who, it was a really sad situation, but what happened is she got a ton of negative, malicious reviews that were not people that had never been to her spa. It was a group that were not happy with a service that she was doing. And she went from 4.9 to 1.9 in one night. And I felt so much for her. But the process of and some of them are even saying, I've never been to this business, but I don't like that they offer this. What do you do in a situation like that? I mean, involve your attorney, obviously. That was my advice.
That would be step one. I'll say this, because that's tough. But I've actually been a part of working with a business, a client of mine that had something similar happen where one patient had a bad experience, but then that patient got their friends involved to leave reviews. So it wasn't just one negative review. It turned out to be 5 to 10 negative reviews, where they had never been into that practice before. They were just leaving bad reviews. And you can dispute negative reviews. You can absolutely dispute it. So that would be my first recommendation, is dispute the review. Make your claim with Google, and Google will take them off if you can show that it's not a legitimate review for the business.
And I think you can report harassment and bullying if they are, in this gal's case, it was harassment that was happening. I won't get into all the details, but it's a process, isn't it? And I think that's something that it makes business owners fearful, is putting yourself out there and not really understanding the terms of reviews. This was a deep dive for me, and what are Google's terms and conditions around this? Where do I find that? How do I understand the rules? Because that can affect your business so much for the positive. And also, God forbid something like that happens. It's a lot of time to go through and get it all resolved.
It's hard, but I believe that it even heightens the importance of having a consistent process in place where you're actively growing your reviews from a positive standpoint with all of the many positive reviewers or your patients that you have. If you're working on that and have a good process in place. When that attack happens, or if that attack happens, you're better prepared, because if you have 5 reviews and you receive several negative reviews, it's going to drastically impact your score. But if you have 50 reviews or 100 reviews and 5 or 10 reviews come out, it's still going to negatively impact your score, but at a less percentage. So those cases can happen, but by ignoring reviews and pretending it doesn't exist, doesn't keep someone from leaving those negative reviews. And then that negatively impacts you even more. So it's really important that you focus on Google reviews. They're going to play a key role in ranking well, locally. But also if you do have a negative review, if you have several positive, that helps fend that attack from happening.
I actually think it makes you look more relatable and more like businesses that have all 5 stars and no 4 stars or 3 stars. It's like, are those all real?
Yeah.
It kind of makes you think. You want to see a little bit of variety, even though we strive for perfection and, wanting to be the best. But I notice if I saw a restaurant or something that had, 100 5-star reviews, I would question it.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. The user experience, or the user journey, one of the very first things they look at is reviews. And you're right. If you have a blend where you obviously need a 4-star or above.
Yes.
So that would be the number that I would go for. If you're getting into 3.9, I highly recommend focusing on higher, just driving a good quality experience.
Yes.
But having some realistic reviews in there is important, because patients trust other patients, or people trust other people more so than they trust businesses.
Talk to me about your thoughts on responding to reviews. Are we responding to all of the positive and all of the negative? Just thank you for your feedback, or how are we?
I believe you should respond to every review. A part of ranking well in the map section, there's a few different components to it, but one element is how frequently are you engaging with your Google business profile?
Okay.
So if you are a set it and forget it, which is what a lot of people think of when they think of their Google business profile, is I've said it and now I've forgotten about it. But if you're working on it and using it as a tool, you're more likely, that engagement, Google pays attention to, and you're more likely to climb in the map section when someone types in spa near me or massage therapist near me, because you're working on your Google business profile more frequently than someone that hasn't touched their profile in 6 months. So that engagement, one, is good in that regard. But then 2, when other prospective clients see that you're actively engaging with your audience, that shows a level of legitimacy and even being authentic. That I think stands out. So yeah, I absolutely recommend positives and negative. Respond to all reviews. It's just a good engagement tool for you to leverage.
So I have a question. This might be a 2-part one, but you had mentioned having a system around reviews. I know you guys have a really cool software that helps, systemize this, but a lot of spa owners have reviews in their booking software. And they're saying, well, it automatically sends it out. It makes it easy, but it'll be on a software that they may or may not change at some point as their business grows and evolves. Is it necessary to stick with Google, or do those reviews do the trick?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's one that as I've met with many spas over the past 6 to 12 months, I see it's very common where they tell me like, hey, I have 200 reviews on my software. How can I transfer them over to Google? And the unfortunate fact to that is that you can't transfer them. You can't just take your reviews and move them to Google. And depending on the software, I'm not going to say there's no value, because a lot of the times those softwares will allow a widget to be placed on your website where people can scroll through those positive reviews and see them on your site. But as far as ranking in Google and getting more new patients because of it, it doesn't carry the same weight. And so because of that, we prioritize at High Level Marketing Google reviews. They are going to help you rank higher in the map section. They're going to help you drive more traffic to your website, more leads to the business. So yes, we have a tool, our footprint dashboard, that we leverage with a lot of our clients, where you can solicit reviews directly. You can even include a link if your software allows you, there's some softwares, there's a million different out there, and you can edit them a lot of the times where when they receive the review, if you want to include a link, you could either link directly to the Google Business Profile. What we like to do is link our footprint. It's a link that takes you to a branded page where someone can leave a review. And if it is high enough, it's gated in the sense where it takes people to Google if it's a positive review. If it's a negative review, then it goes direct via email. So it keeps it private where you're not having to, have
You still get
reviews.
the feedback.
Exactly.
Which is important. I mean, we can learn so much from, if someone's sharing their honest experience, a lot of times there's blind spots in our business that we don't see. And that feedback can be absolute gold.
Yeah.
But what I love about using Google for reviews, it doesn't tie you to a particular piece of software. Because what we'll see with spa owners as they, when they're starting out and then they build their team and they grow and expand, their needs around software can be very different. And so they may have a booking software that they absolutely love for the first 5 years of their business, but they outgrow it. And if you outgrow it, you're leaving, maybe you have 200 reviews, you're leaving that all behind and starting back over. With Google, you have the freedom to use the software that makes sense for whatever stage of business you're at. Plus, Google's way bigger than...
Well, and it absolutely, and I've said it already, but when you grow your reviews, showing up in the map section, if someone is searching in your city, showing up there is competitive. It's a competitive environment. There are other businesses trying to show up in the same spot that you are. And so if you have more reviews than them, that is one of, not the only, but one of the key elements to ranking on the top 3, which if you can be in the top 3 placements in the map space, you're going to show up in the search engine results page, which you all have probably seen, where you type in spa near me and the maps pops up. If you want to get there, you need to have more reviews than your competitors. It's a key player in showing up. So it does help long term, regardless of, like you said, if you change platforms or softwares, it stays. It's a part of your business. So
now, talk to me a little bit more about this systemization. So you have this link to this software. Are we setting this up in an automated email that goes out to all of our patients after they come in? Or are we doing this where, we're taking maybe a quarter of our list and every quarter emailing, this group of people and then that group of people, so we're not automatically just getting, hundreds of people or thousands of people all at once? What is the cadence of this?
Yeah, I think it depends. Every individual practice that I work with, depending on what software they use, we leverage the tool a bit differently. So it can be to answer the question, it kind of depends on your software. If we can edit your software where we can change what people are receiving, at the end of the day, we'd love for it to be automated. So if we can attach it and bolt it onto your software where they can click on a link and leave a review in an automated fashion, that takes the heavy lifting or the burden off of high-level marketing or off of the spa. So that's great to do. If not, then our other option is to do exactly what you said, where it's sending out, and it's literally just a push of a couple of buttons, but where you're sending out in bulk review requests and review solicitation on an ongoing period, whether that's weekly or bi-weekly, et cetera. We discuss that. And that really depends on one practice to the next. We work together to come up with a good process. But the end of the day, the high level goal is to consistently solicit reviews so that you're overall growing those reviews, building authority with your Google Business Profile, and ranking higher locally when people are searching for the services that you offer.
So I think I know the answer to this question, but when we're looking at what is the most impactful piece of Google My Business, reviews, or
Yeah, I'll answer the question. I actually was recently on and speaking with some of your students, and we talked about this. We really dug into this, and so I'm not going to go as deep on this forum, but I do think it's important to touch. There's really 3 main categories if you're trying to impact your local search engine, specifically in the map section.
Okay.
There's relevance, there's prominence, and there's distance. Those are the 3 kind of categories that Google looks at. Relevance is how relevant is your Google Business Profile to what the user is searching for. So if you're a massage therapist and someone's looking for Swedish massage or massage near me, your primary, what you've labeled yourself, it's called your overall, your category. Google asks what category of business or industry you're in. Whatever you've labeled yourself. If you say, I'm a massage therapist, if someone's looking for massage, that's relevant. That is an indicator to Google that your profile is relevant for what they're looking for. So that's kind of the first bucket is your Google business profile being relevant? So there's also a service section that you can fill out. And this is a really important, I would say reviews are probably most important, but then also going in and listing all of the services that you offer in the Google business.
Your full menu of services.
Your full menu. And this is something they've recently rolled out, Google, that they're paying. It does impact how it ranks in the maps, is not only do you have them listed, but if you go in and it's in the service category of your Google business profile, if you go in and click on your service, so if you have the service titled, it now opens up to a new box where you can list the price of the service and a description of the service up to 300 characters. And Google wants you to go in and actually provide additional detail around that service, and that plays a key role in how well you're ranking. So that's another relevance factor, is giving Google a better understanding of your services so that when someone searches, they want to make sure that they provide a relevant answer.
Is that something that we care about, keywords? Or is that a whole other can of worms?
I would say that keywords can be I think it confuses people. So instead of, I honestly would be more organic than that. I think it's just important that you go in and you list a good description of the service. Don't think about keywords, and that can honestly confuse someone that isn't skilled in SEO, but it's important for Google to understand what that service is.
So really, they could just copy and paste from their spa menu. What the little paragraph.
Absolutely. So that's what we do a lot of the times, is take the descriptions of the pages on the website that we've built, take out kind of the first paragraph, copy and paste it in there where it's just a good solid description of the service. But you want to do that on every service that you have, and make sure it's in that Google business profile. That helps from a relevancy factor. And then the other component that people don't think about is prominence. And I think it's good to understand this. Prominence, a good example of that is how long have you been in business? If you are a new business, you have to do more things right. You have to be more aggressive. You have to make more effort to rank higher than a business that's been around for 10 years. So the takeaway from that for a spa owner is, if you're new, you need to understand that. You need to dot your I's and check your T's or cross your T's.
What are you considering new? Is this like 1 to 3 years, or?
It's a good question. It depends on your area. And depending on what you do is you use your whatever search, if it's spa near me, do that and take a look at who's ranking in the top 3. Okay. How many reviews do they have? That's the first question. How long have they been in business? And that's a good barometer for you to benchmark yourself up against. If you see the person ranking first has 120 reviews, then that needs to be your ultimate goal, to drive toward more than that.
Or 130.
Or 100, yeah. So that's use what's showing up in Google as your barometer. And if you're an older business that's been around for a while, I personally love working with a business that's been, 3-5 years, because that lets me know that you've got your overall domain authority is much like credit score. The longer you've been around, the stronger it becomes. So if you just start doing some things right, you can really start to dominate the first page of Google. So I think it's a good barometer for you to think about when you're considering how aggressive should I be with my online strategy.
So reviews in the service section, you think those are the two most impactful? And
then your primary category, I would say that's the very first thing that you should do when you optimize your profile, is look and see what your primary category is. You can choose many different categories, but you can only pick one category as your primary. Okay. And whatever that is, if that's whatever you've labeled yourself, you want to make sure people are searching that thing. So
it would be spa, right?
Spa, it could be day spa, it could be medical spa. They give you different types of options to choose from.
Okay.
But if you pick medical spa as your primary category, when someone searches medical spa, that's going to be the search that you have the greatest likelihood to show up first for, not spa. So you want to just think through what your primary category is as your heaviest weighting factor. with ranking. And you want to make sure that that's extremely relevant for the types of leads you want to receive.
That makes a lot of sense. So really, I mean, there's a lot of thought that gets put into.
I'll give you an example of when I believe people misstep on. And everyone's different, but I see a lot of times people list themselves as a skincare studio.
Yes.
And a lot of the times when people search skincare in Google, they're not looking for a local provider. They may be looking for a product. It's not granular enough, in my opinion. And so what you're trying to show up for now, your number one weighted factor is showing up for a not non-relevant, but not as relevant as it could be. So I just encourage, it's the very first thing we look at when we start working with a business is what is your primary category and does it make sense for what people are searching for in your local community?
I think that alone could change so many people's businesses just by changing that shift, because I hear skincare studio all the time.
Yeah, and it's not one of the first search terms we try to optimize websites for because it doesn't generate the same amount of quality leads as someone just looking for a spa or looking for a massage therapist, if that's your focus or whatever it may be. It's just important that it can be one of those small, low cost, high value optimizations that you can make that can play a big impact. And all of a sudden you may start getting more leads for the right types of services that you're looking for because you just changed what category you're in.
Okay, so this is a lot of information. I think you put together a checklist, right?
I did.
Okay,
yes.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, so all it is, it kind of explains itself, it is a checklist of some of the most impactful optimizations or changes or work that you can do to your Google business profile to maximize the impact of it and start ranking higher in your local market. So it's just really simple, a 1, 2, 3 checklist that if you'll leverage and use, it will help you rank higher in your local community.
That's so great. I mean, who doesn't love a checklist?
Yeah. Well, with the Google Business Profile, it's one of those things that they're constantly changing and adding new features, and they've recently changed the whole name.
Yeah, because I know I use Google everything. They just changed Duo to Meet. They there's all these little shifts and change. How do we find out about these updates and these changes and what they're actually doing?
Yeah, it's one of the most, if my SEO team is probably screaming right now when they hear this because they don't just make big announcements where you have to be watching and paying close attention. Our team meets on an ongoing basis just looking at changes that Google makes and how we can then change our approach to maximize impact. Like with the Google Business Profile, it used to be Google My Business. Before that, it was Google Plus. And before that, it was Google Local. They've changed the name of it multiple times.
Wasn't it like a social media platform at one point? Was that Google Plus?
That was the direction that they wanted to head.
Okay.
And then they changed it to Google My Business. And now, in my opinion, from the research that I've done, at changing it to Google Business Profile, they're adding some things. They really want you to work on it on an ongoing basis, very much similar to what you would do to your website and maybe even the social channel. So I'm not saying it's a social platform, it's not, but they don't want you to set it and forget it. But I think it's a great example, just how you mentioned, how do I know when Google makes changes? It's a good example of how Google is a technology and they're constantly updating their technology to become better, smarter, stronger to maintain the powerhouse that they are. And so you have to pay attention because they are not a static thing. They're a living organism that's constantly improving over time. And I think all the name changes is a good example of that.
So how much time would a spa owner dedicate to Google? Is this an hour a week? What do you think it takes to really be considered active and staying relevant with the platform, but without adding so much, another thing onto their plate? Well,
I have to say, it's one of the reasons that I have a job is because it does take a lot of time and it is really important. But I would say that it's important for you to think about the size of your business, how many services Do you offer, a practice that offers 3 or 4 services is going to spend less time than a practice that has grown to the point where they're offering 20 services, where they have a lot of different things that they want to rank well for in Google. So the more services you offer, or the more locations that you have, certainly plays in the role of how frequently you should work on Google. So I can't answer that question directly without having a one-on-one conversation, which I will include a link in this and provide to you where you can schedule that and we can have that conversation directly once I better understand a business. But all I will say is it's important that you have time that you place continuously, not just once. I encourage you to schedule it and think about it. And the Google Business Profile is a great place to start. It's one of the non-technical elements. When you get into website and some more technical components, it can be really difficult and it may make sense to loop someone in, an expert. The Google Business Profile, if you dig into it, is pretty straightforward. And I think it's a great place to start.
I love that. All right. Anything else that I'm not asking about Google that's relevant for spa owners in our community?
No, I think specific to the Google Business Profile, we've covered a lot. I could have a whole nother conversation with websites in particular. That's a whole nother direction. But no, I think we've covered a good basis of it. Wonderful.
Well, tell our listeners where they can find you, follow you, all the good things.
Yeah. So highlevelmarketing.com is our website. Also, I believe Danielle is including a link that goes directly to my calendar where you can schedule a time where we can sit down, evaluate the business. I can share the checklist as well. I know that's going to be something that we provide. So feel free to click on the link or go to our website.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you, Danielle.
Always a pleasure having you on the show. Make sure you guys are downloading that checklist. Super important, super valuable information. And I can tell you that every single person that has booked a call with Ryan has been raving about it and been so happy. So definitely take advantage of that. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next episode.